Hey guys, welcome to Lovely J Podcast. This is Coco. My throat is so dry too. I don't know why I didn't get some bottles of water over here before I came. But y'all, I want to talk to you about this grieving process that I'm going through, and I just realized what is really happening to me. All this time, me and him, my daughter was right. She said, Mama, you do know that you haven't been single for 14 years. You've been single about 10 years. And me and her just had this conversation. I believe it was last month. We had that conversation I said, you sure? She said, yeah, because she had Zalia and she had Destiny, and me and him was still together at that time. We were beefing hard, but we were still together. And I was like, okay. So I really started blocking this relationship out with my ex. And for those who don't know, I'm talking about my ex. His name is Rollo. He passed away yesterday, and it just brought up a whole... It was so unexpected. But in a way, it wasn't expected, because I'm going to tell you something. God will always send a warning. He will send a warning. He ain't going to let you go by yourself, y'all. It was so many warnings God sent me. And so I knew something was going to happen. I just didn't know what and to who. But I did know it was going to be him. Now, I know all that don't make sense, but I did know, and this is how I knew. Because when I was talking to my daughter in July, I worked hard, y'all. I worked hard on TikTok. And I kept telling my daughter, I'm working hard because I need to get this stuff in. Y'all, when I tell y'all, everything went so fast. So I worked hard, and I made the money I need to make. And out of nowhere, I'm like, I need to get some new covers, because this cover right here, I done raised all the grandchildren on this cover, and this the cover me and Rollo had when he was living here. I never changed out the cover. I kept the cover with me, y'all. Every room I moved to, that cover moved with me. And I believe that it was a part of me trying to hold on to him through that cover. When I was sleeping in my son's room, and cause see, everybody moved out. They moved out. My son moved out. My daughter moved out, and I was the only one here. So, and then when he moved out, I was the only one here. So nobody was here with me, and I stopped sleeping in that room that me and him used to sleep in. After he left, I stopped sleeping back there. Took the bed out, got rid of the bed, and everything else, I left alone. I really did, y'all. When I tell y'all, I didn't clean nothing. I ain't touched nothing. I left it just like it is now. That's been left for 10 years. When he left, the only thing I really pulled out that room was the bed and that cover. So that cover right now, do y'all know where that cover is right now? That cover right now is in the bedroom that I sleep in. And it's right where I can see it. Right now. I've always kept that cover with me. And I used to love when he would make the bed up and that cover would be on it. And then when we sleep, like, we'd be snatching the cover off each other sometime. And he'd be like, I had to go get me another cover because you got all that. But that right there, the cover thing, God was dealing with me. And this is finna go spiritual. Can I get some help, some prayers? Because this is finna go spiritual. God was dealing with me. He said, get rid of the cover. That day, I was supposed to throw the cover away. I put it in the bag, the trash bag to have it thrown away. But when my granddaughters came and took the trash out, the trash can filled up, and I wanted to put the worst trash in there first because cover, don't stink or anything. So well, it do stink if you don't wash it. But in this case, it's not like it's going to rotten or something like that, and cause a very funky disturbance. So I was able to let them take out the other trash, and I kept the comforter. The comforter was the one we used every day together. And I had that comforter for the entire 15 years that we were together. When I first got with him, I think I had just brought that comforter set because... Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody called. But they're not finna interrupt this because they should have called earlier. Let me cut my phone off. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Because, see, this is my healing journey. I'm telling you my healing story right now. I took that cover back there with me. I ain't never dealt with no breakup from him. And that's why I kept that cover with me. I know it is. I kept that cover with me thinking that maybe one day, he'll come up and I'll let him come in and maybe we'll, be like we was. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. I was so used to him leaving every weekend and then coming back, leaving every weekend, then coming back. And then this last time when he left and he wanted to come back, I wouldn't take him back. And so after a couple of weeks of, staying here and there with different people because he couldn't stay with his mom. So after staying here and there with different people, he finally settled in with his sister. And I still kept that cover, dragging it back and forth to whatever bedroom I was sleeping in. Just dragging. And really, I was doing it unconsciously. But see, now I'm becoming conscious to what I was doing. Because when God is warning you about a thing, He going to make sure you have understanding to it. And each day, I'm having better understanding to why I was doing the things I was doing. Now, I told y'all, the whole month of July, I even got a video of it. It did not happen this morning. The crows came on my porch. And they keep hitting this window every morning at the same time. And yesterday it did it. It hit the window at the same time. And I woke up and said, stop hitting that window. Stop hitting that window. I was just screaming at the crows. It's probably on a video cam here somewhere that I have. I was screaming at those crows to stop hitting that window. And they stopped. I got on Facebook and that's when I saw that my ex had passed away. Okay. That's when I saw he had passed away. And it hurt me so bad because I wanted to tell him something. I was hoping there would be chances and opportunities where I wouldn't be so with the wall up. I had put a wall up. I ain't want nobody talking to me about him. I ain't want nobody asking me about him. If somebody talked to me about him, I would just go off and mind my own business. I wouldn't answer no questions. I'd be like, no, I ain't, basically, I thought out of sight, out of mind. And I packed down every feeling, every emotion. And now it's starting to come through for me what I did. I didn't deal with him leaving. And I was the one who told him to leave. I didn't deal with that. I knew he was sick. But I also knew he was up to no good. It's some things he was doing that just, it wouldn't have been right for him to keep staying here with me like that. And seeing other people, other women, and, I told y'all when we first started together, we were both addicts, and I got off the drugs in 2005, but he continued to stay on them, and the alcohol, it was very toxic. So this man, why this hurt so bad? I've been with this man longer than I've been with my parents. I've been with him longer than I've been with my mama, with my daddy. And I love my daddy and my mama. I was with him longer. What am I talking? I'm talking about living with him. I lived with him longer than I lived with my daddy and my mama. I lived with my daddy and my mama 15 years of my life, from the time I was a child up until I was 15, and I moved out. Then I got this. I was living with my sister, and then I was living with a guy, and me and him, we stayed together about. We stayed together a few years. It was a good amount of years too, maybe like 8 or 9 years. And I think on that 10th year, I met Rollo. I met Rollo in 1999. I was 23 years old. I did not. At 23 years old, at the hot spot is where I met him at. And we were good. We were really good, like really good. And then after the first 2 years, things started getting rocky, and we both still just hung in there. Cause we knew, we kind of knew how to handle each other. And unfortunately, that was in a toxic manner, which I talked about it a lot on this podcast. And, I told you he has narcissism. I mean, he full out to over. He don't hide nothing. He don't sugarcoat nothing. And you got to be strong to really deal with the way he is. And so he didn't leave here until I was almost 40. I was almost 40 years old when we finally gave a quit and didn't try to live together or anything anymore. Y'all do know, I think I was around 30, 39, maybe 38. I'm going to turn. My daughter was right. It wasn't 14 years, because I'm going to turn 49 if the Lord will in this month. And he showed out again. He took my birthday month so that I would never forget him. He took my birthday month. Darn it, Rollo. But I'll be 49. And so when I left with him, I was in my upper 30s, right at 40 years old. Which makes me and him have been together longer than I had been with my own parents. I only lived with my parents 15 years. I gave him a lot of years. A lot of years of my life. He got me when I was in my 20s. And I wanted him too. I wanted an older man. I always was attracted to older men. I didn't start being attracted to younger men until I got tired of the older men treating me bad. But, so you gotta think, in my adulthood, he molded me and shaped me. Even though it might have not seemed like it at the time, I'll admit it. There's things he was molded and he shaped me on. But then, like the good books say, you always go back to what the word of God say you go back to what your parents taught you, and you had good parents to teach you some good things, then you won't be out there in them streets long. Or if you are out there for a long period of time, you'll eventually come back in. You'll come back. And that's what happened. During our relationship, I ended up, I saw he wasn't going to change, and there was nothing else I can do. And I prayed to God. I said, well, Lord, change me. And when I said that prayer, and I'm going to tell you something, when you pray, you better be ready for what you pray for. If you praying earnestly, fervently, you better be ready for what you pray for. Because I prayed that prayer, and that next day, it might have been the same night. It was the same night. Same night, my bad. That same night, he had his cell phone and his fingers are disfigured, so he can't really work his cell phone right. And he couldn't cut it off right. He couldn't cut it on right. He always had to have somebody do something for him he was getting older, and all the stuff he was doing to his body was now affecting his mobility. So he would have to have somebody do it for him. And what stopped it was that same night, I was sitting right along in the same area I'm sitting in now. Different kind of chair, though. It wasn't this chair. I was sitting here, and he was out there at my aunt's house. He had just got back a lump sum of money on disability. And he didn't know that his phone called me. His phone called me, and I heard everything he said to a white woman. And he was begging that woman to stay with him, and he was telling her how much money he would give her and things, and how they needed to ride here, ride there, and they did. And that was the final straw for me. And so rather than come and be honest with myself about what happened, because there was shame in there, I was ashamed to tell people that I was really hurting, because why would you hurt for a man who done did this to you over and over? So you already know what he about. So how you hurting? You know he do stuff like that. That was the mindset I had, that I didn't have a right to complain or to... I just felt like I didn't have a right to complain or grieve that relationship, because I already knew what he was about. And so that's what I did. I pushed down all these emotions on the inside of me. I pushed them down, and I started working over them. I didn't try to work through them. I worked over them, meaning that when he left, it wasn't long after then I started my radio station, so I stayed busy with that. I started my charity organization, stayed busy with that. I mean, it was a lot of things that I had started doing. Now, keep in mind, during this time when he left, he really was back and forth between houses during that time. He wasn't gone for real until about, I would say probably 2015. That's when it really, it was like, not coming back now. And he started, paying rent and things. And I was happy for that, to hear he was finally paying rent. But I didn't deal with him leaving. If he was here now, if he was still living and I knew I had an opportunity to talk to him, and I mean, I'm talking about like, if he wasn't in a sick position like he is now, I mean, like he was, and say like if he had asked me, did I have any unfinished business with him, I would have said, why didn't you fight harder for me? That's what I would have said. I would have asked him, why you didn't fight harder for me? Why you didn't fight harder for us? I fought all those other years for us, and then I got tired. I just couldn't do it anymore. But why you didn't fight? The ball was in your court the whole time. That's what I would have asked him. Did he just not want to be with me? Or, why didn't he fight? And then when I would see him at places, he'd be like, can I come back with you? Can I come back with you? But I was so packed down with emotions by then. I had packed them in then. And by that time, I was talking to another young fella then. And I was like thinking that me and that young fella, we was going to have something real together. And so that's how I kind of went on and slept on out. He slipped away yesterday, for real. And I slipped away with that other guy and didn't look back at him. I'd speak to him when I see him and things, but I didn't look back for a relationship, didn't ask no questions or anything. I let him go just the way it was. I didn't want to bother with him. I didn't want to fight anymore. And that's how it happened. Now, at the same time, y'all, this is where we get into what happened to me and this bedroom back there. I just found out it's a certain thing called freezing space. Freezing time. I froze time in that room. That bedroom that had nothing done to it in 10 years. I froze time in that bedroom. I froze the space in that bedroom. There was a part of me hoping that he would get it together and come back and want to be a man, father, grandfather, stepdad, husband. That part of me still lived. But it was small, but it still lived in that packed stuff. The stuff I had packed down. That was always my hope, that we both could get it together and be good for each other. But it wasn't his plan, though. At first it was, and then I think seemed like the more drugs he had, the less concerned he was about having a wife. And then, I found out he was still married. So that was a bit, and I think that's why I just packed it down. That right there, I didn't have no more strength or energy to fight for him. That's why the question for me was, why didn't you fight for us? You could have got a divorce. You could have got in rehab or something, started taking some classes. You could have tried, you could have tried to, if you wanted to. And so I took it as he didn't want to. So I froze that time back there in that room. That's what it's called, freezing time, freezing space. The space and the time is still the same as when he was living here. And tonight, the question came up in my heart, like, why didn't I do anything with that room? You know what? I went back there. I said, let me go take another look at this room, because I have been going back there. Now, when he first left, I didn't go back there in that room for about 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. I only started going back there in that room within the last 2-3 years, and that's because we needed water, because I ain't have no water in the kitchen. So when my son took the sink and stuff out, that's when I started going back there to the room. And even then, I was seeing the girls back there. I wouldn't go. So everything was left in its exact place. And when I would walk back there, I didn't see nothing except what I was going back there for. I didn't see the room. I didn't see that everything was still left in its... Listen, body washes, some of his work tools. I mean, they in the same spot. I opened up the cabinets. There's towel there he was supposed to put down on the floor. He was supposed to put that towel down in this utility room. That's where that towel was supposed to go. He left work here undone. That made me angry, bitter. It made me angry. The angrier I got, the more I kept going to see that guy. And that was my excuse not to do any work here on that room and to just keep going about my business. Now, I'm going to tell y'all what this freezing time and space is, because I actually do have it pulled up on my phone. And I didn't realize I was froze like that until today. Actually, just now, a few minutes ago. Because yesterday, when I found out he died, them the biggest tears I ever shed in my life. I ain't shed no tears like that for both my dads. And I love both my dads. But I never felt my eyes fill up like water balloons. I mean, it was just like, I couldn't stop it. I couldn't turn it off. It was like water balloons filling up in my eyes. And the pressure of those tears, they were just pounding out of my eyes. I mean, on all sides of my eyes. I've never seen my tear stream that big. I've cried tears before and they come out, and a tear might roll down the corner of my eye. This was rolling from all different directions. I never had felt like that, and I said, oh my God, it's happening. And I understood now what that voice was when I was sleeping and saying, it is finished. It is finished. And while that was happening, the crow hit the windows. Boom, 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 boom. And I started screaming at the crows, and I didn't understand that it is finished. I thought it really meant for me just go read that scripture. That's what I really thought it meant, but now I understand. It is finished. He died. That's it. That's the end of the chapter. Now, what I'm going to do? I can't get no more answers out of him. There's no question that he can answer now. There's no amount of words that he can tell me now. There's no more chances of us being able to get back together. And I never wanted to say that, but yeah, I did wait around wanting to get back, but I couldn't do it. Because see, the difference this time was I was in the church for real and I wasn't playing. And I had an understanding with God, and it was hard to resist that temptation. Every time he looked at me with them eyes and said, can I come back up there with you? Come on now, can I come back up there with you? Every time I wanted to say yes so bad. And that temptation was there to say yes. But that discernment and anointing said no. Don't tell me God won't speak for you. Okay. So this was the question that I asked the AI. Is it possible for a person to shut down and avoid areas like a bedroom shared by an ex and not move anything in the room for over 10 years? Now, that's the truth of what I've been doing. I didn't move anything except for what I needed to move. And the answer came back, yes. It's possible for someone to avoid certain areas or situations, especially if they're associated with painful memories and emotions. This behavior can be a coping mechanism to deal with grief, trauma, or heartbreak. Y'all know I've been teaching on heartbreak and Kiva forever. But I never knew that this was a such thing. It says freezing a space. Emotional significance. Leaving a room or space untouched can be a way to preserve memories or emotions associated with that space. Avoidance behavior. Avoiding certain areas or objects can be a way to avoid feelings of sadness, nostalgia, or anxiety. Coping mechanism. This behavior can be a coping mechanism to deal with overwhelming emotions or to maintain a sense of control. That's how I maintain my sense of control, is I left everything alone. That's how I was able to get through all those years of doing radio work and and just, traveling back and forth. Really not. My mind was in a whole nother world. That's how I was able to do it. I avoided my feelings of heartbreak. Didn't even know this was a thing. I froze that space back there for him. And he never fought to get back in it. He left me feeling stupid again. I'm going to laugh at that one, though. But it's true. It's true. I mean, think about it. What he just did, up and left, that was typical of him. Potential reasons: trauma. Traumatic experiences can lead to avoidance behaviors, including avoiding certain spaces or objects. Yeah. I didn't want to touch nothing back there. I just left it. Grief. Grief can cause people to freeze time, preserving memories and emotions associated with a particular period of space. It's two different types of emotions that go along with that room. Well, three different types. And all three of them had to do with men. The first one was when my biological dad died. He came to my bedroom door and he said, "Jamie, get up, Jamie. You got that girl's shoes?" And he asked me for my sister's shoes. And I said, "No, they ain't over here." So she ended up having to go to work in his shoes. That was the first trauma. My dad passed probably like 3 hours later after that. Massive heart attack. The second trauma was my other dad that adopted me. My grandfather, but he adopted me. My daddy Marshall. Sometimes he would go back there and lay down when he was feeling really bad, or when he had bad backache. He liked my bed. He liked how my bed was. He would lay back there. And right before he died, I was standing at the bedroom door, getting ready to go in there and lay down, because I had just been down there with him. He was on hospice. And I told my sister, I said, "Well, you just call me if anything, changes." And I had been here 5 minutes going to lay down in that bed. And I got the call that he passed away. So I didn't like walking in that bedroom door anymore. And the only thing kept me walking in that bedroom door was him. Rollo kept me walking in that bedroom door. I walked back there to that bedroom to tell him people was out here for him. When they would come pick him up to go do a little side jobs, I walked back there in that bedroom when we get ready to go to sleep, and he couldn't understand why I always kept him near me. He said, "You like sleeping like that, don't you?" And he said, "I like it too." See, I sleep, and he always put his arm around me. Every time. He put his arm around me for years. No matter how mad we were with each other, we somehow twisted our leg together and then, slept in the coupling position. And he always put his arm around me. And his arms never gave him trouble until he started getting sicker. When he started getting sicker, it got where he couldn't put his arm, he couldn't let me lay on him, on his chest or on his arms, because it was making him hurt. So he got where he couldn't handle the weight he wanted. He liked big women. He liked big women. And he got where he couldn't handle the weight that he had once could handle because of that sickness. And so back there in that bedroom, we barely fussed in that bedroom. I will say that's the one place in this house where we barely fussed at. But now if we was in the living room, kitchen, we fussed like crazy. But back there in that bedroom, I think it must have been that 23rd Psalms that was up there. Or either 123rd Psalms. I can't get over there where it's at right now, but I'll read it soon. I think it's the 23rd Psalm. Up over that. We always slept with it up over the bed. It's still there. That scripture opening is still there. the picture of my niece is still there. Ain't nothing been moved. It's still there. It's been there the whole time since he left. I didn't touch nothing. I want to go in there and see if there's anything on that shelf, but I'm not going to do it today. I've already been back there 3-4 times. But that's the trauma and the grief. I've had 3 griefs associated with it. When we broke up, you know what it takes to get used to not going back telling somebody. I done this thing 15 years, got up and went back there to the room and tell him, hey, such and such out there for you. Then all of a sudden, when he gone, I can't go tell him that no more. I packed it down. Eventually, it got where I couldn't stay in the bedroom. Took the bed out for another reason, and after I took that bed out, I never put another one back there. I didn't put one back there, and I tried to lay back there, and I never really had time to grieve. I had too much going on. I had little babies. I had radio station. I was in school. I kept myself busy. If you go back and you look during that time, I was in college, doing radio stuff, traveling. I didn't want to make time to deal with what I was going through with him. And I didn't make time for it. But now, 10 years later, time is forcing me to make time to heal and let it go. And I really didn't realize I was doing that out of grief. I really didn't. But I didn't grieve our relationship. I didn't even cry. I was trying to be tough. Didn't even cry, but truth is that hurt. I feel it. It hurt. I remember saying I didn't want to feel nothing. At that time, I would rather man hop than to be by myself. So I did not have to feel it. But I didn't have to man hop, thank God, because I found one that it just worked out for the last 10 years. He worked out. And that's how long I was in that situationship, for 10 years. Okay. So the impact on daily life, I was at the emotional attachment. This here is a potential reason why that I shut down like that. Emotional attachment. Strong emotional attachment to a person or memories can make it difficult to change or move on from a particular space. It did. I wanted to leave it just like it was. So if he ever came back, it would be just like it was. As the years went by, it started getting dusty, spiders, and I just left it. I didn't just left. Impact on daily life. I'd be finishing up. Impact on daily life, emotional distress. Avoiding certain areas or situations can provide temporary relief, but may not address underlying emotional issues. Practical challenges. Leaving a room untouched for an extended period can create practical challenges such as dust accumulation, maintenance issues, or wasted spaces. If you're struggling with this behavior, they say consider reaching out to mental health professionals for guidance and support. And y'all know I'm not too much on that anymore. So I said, when someone freezes a room, it can manifest in various ways. Wait a minute, I said, what are the signs that someone has froze the room? And it says, when someone freezes a room, it can manifest in various ways. Here are some potential signs. Okay, guys, listen up to these potential signs. Just in case I'm not in this alone, listen to it. The first thing is no changes or updates. The room remains unchanged with no updates, decorations, or renovations. Y'all, that's 100% true. I did nothing. The mirrors, everything. I left for him to come back and do. And now he can't even pretend like he want to come back. Dust accumulation. The room may be dusty with furniture, surfaces, and objects collecting dust over time. Yep, very dusty. I was back there sneezing. Items left in place. Personal items such as clothes. Oh my God. Clothes, photos, or mementos remain in the same position, untouched and unchanged. It's like that. He left the picture of his niece up on the mirror. It's still there. I left the picture, I left this thing that my daughter made for me. It's still back there. And she made that for me like when she was I think she was in middle school. Maybe 6th grade when she made that for me. And it's still back there. Okay, no cleaning or maintenance. The room may not be regularly cleaned or maintained with clutter, dirt, or stains accumulating. Yep, I started putting supplies back there. That's the only thing I did. I started adding supplies back there when the pandemic came. That was the only time I went in that room. And I said, let me put a shelf in here and put some supplies. And you know what? I did not keep that shelf in there long. I pulled that shelf back out and I put it in the utility room. I couldn't leave it in there. It was not part of the original room. It threw me off, I think, and that's why I pulled it out. Okay, avoidance behavior. The person may avoid entering the room or discussing it due to the emotional significance of pain, memories associated with the space. Yeah, I didn't talk about it. I just recently started talking about the room. And I told you already that I let my grandchildren go back there in it to get that water. And I even showed them how to do that so they wouldn't mess with anything. Oh, I'm getting tired now. These signs can indicate that someone has frozen a room, preserving the space and memories associated with it. How to get past it now that a person is deceased. When someone passes away, it can be challenging to navigate the emotions and memories associated with them. Here are some potential steps to consider. Now, before I tell y'all that, let me tell y'all what I did go back there. And this is the first time I really paid it some attention. You know, right before he left from here, before we broke up for good, he went in the store at Walmart and got me a plant. He went and got it for me. So as long as he was here, I was watering that plant. I was taking care of that plant. And the plant sitting back there, dead. That plant 10 years old. It's sitting back there dead in the original soil, the original container, the original stem on the plant. It's just sitting there dead. It ain't moved or nothing. It's just sitting there dead. The plant is still there. I used to have him go get me those plants because, you know, I've always been obese, so he had to do a lot of stuff, y'all. He had to do the walking for this, walking for that. But he wanted me fat because he kept feeding me. And he didn't think about it. That was going to make him do more work. But maybe that's what he liked it, too. But he went in there and got that plant for me. And I had other plants up there on side the wall, and I took those plants down. And you know where I put those? They were artificial, though. I put those outside. They the plants that I be taking pictures with. And the one that's dead, it's not artificial. That was a real plant. That real live plant is still sitting in there on that sink where we both last left it. he'd get up and water the plants. He knew I liked plants, and he figured I wouldn't do it, so he'd go ahead and water the plant for me. And the only place at that time that we had real plants was in that bedroom. That's why I can't move that stuff, because those were safe memories for me. Because I told you, we didn't fuss in that room. We had a lot of good times in that room. Now, I ain't gonna lie now, but as far as, I think we fussed in that room maybe 3 times out of the whole time he was here. And I don't know, but we just didn't fuss in that room. And like I said, I think might have been that scripture that was up there. Well, we had some good times there. We sure did. And that's the room that he brought me breakfast in almost every morning before we started falling out, and he started messing the breakfast up on purpose. Because he was fixing it real good up until he discovered that I was getting tired and fed up with his stuff. And then he started fixing the breakfast. Sometimes it would be still good, but a lot of times after he started losing his mobility, it just was not worth eating. I did Suge Avery to him one time. You know, when Suge threw that plate on the wall? I did that one time. I said, get that out of here. And that was because I was mad at him. He did something. Oh, he was fitting to leave. And I had already told him, don't go nowhere. I wasn't trying to be bossy, but I knew who he was going with, and I know how that usually ends up. So I was a little overprotective of him. You could say that. Overprotected, jealous, a lot of things. It didn't stop him from doing what he wanted to do, though. He did what he wanted to do. He was with who he wanted to be with, because, you know, I got cheated on a lot, too. And that's why I was like that. Okay, so it says when someone passes away, it can be challenging to navigate the emotions and memories associated with them. Here are some potential steps to consider. Allow yourself to grieve. Give yourself time to process your emotions and grieve the loss. Seek support. Reach out to friends, family, or a therapist for emotional support and guidance. I reach out to Lovely J Podcast because even though sometimes y'all don't comment back to me, I know you're listening. And I know somebody out there praying for me. Because it's been holding me down ever since this podcast started. Reflect on memories. Reflect on the memories you share with the person and consider how you can honor their legacy. How can I honor his legacy when I'm mad with the man? He didn't fight for me. I'm mad with him. And I can't even let him know. If I was to figure out a way to honor him, I would focus on the good that he did. He taught me how to cook a lot. He taught me how to clean a lot of things. He taught me how to build things. He taught me how to put this floor in. He was in prison, and he wrote the letter that told me what to do for the floor and what size wood to get and all that. And I put the floor in, and to this day, I'm still here on the floor. What else can I say? Oh, he always had introduced us to something new. You know, he just add all kind of stuff on to his food, and he just was introducing a lot of things. He had a big sweet tooth. Love sweets. Cheap kind, too. And he liked cheap kind of sweets, and I didn't. I like Little Debbie's. He liked them, what is it, Miss Friendly's or Freshly's? He came back here that day. He came back here that day with the Swiss rolls, and they were Mrs. Friendly or Freshly, whichever the word is. And I went off so bad on him, because do y'all see how them people be cutting up on my 600-pound life? Well, see, I was 560 pounds. So, you know, I cut up about my food, right? And he come back here with that, and because he was trying to cut corners to keep the change so he could buy a beer. And I said, why you come back here with that? I don't eat that. Get that out of here. But he eat it though, cause he like it. I didn't eat it. He ended up going to work with somebody. He brought me the real thing back. Yep. Okay, so allow yourself to grieve, seek support, reflect on memories. I'll probably be doing some more reflecting on memories, and I'm gonna try to put some good things in there too. Because if you've been following this podcast, then you know I've been talking about the narcissism, that he was narcissistic. He was narcissistic. If I ever could see a textbook narcissist walking, he was narcissistic. But I learned how to deal with it. I sure did. I learned how to deal with him and his ways. I give it right back to him the way he give it to me. And that's how I dealt with him. I would have to go tit for tat for tit. Okay, create a new routine. Establish a new routine or tradition to help you move forward while still honoring the person's memory. He didn't marry me. I don't want to stay there. He didn't marry me. I'm glad that we didn't get married, and now I understand that God's plans are the best plans. I understand that, but that was always my goal, was to get married. We always act like we was husband and wife, but there was no paperwork, so I didn't have no say. No paperwork. I was down on a lot of his health records for a while, and then he changed them over. But for the most part, I didn't have no say in his health care, so being a girlfriend doesn't matter. If anything I can tell y'all is stop being the girlfriend. If you've been together for a long period of time, either they're going to marry you or let you go, or you're going to find yourself in a lot of heartache if something ever happens to that person while you're together. You need to think about that when you get with people. I know I will next time. Is this person I'm with somebody I can put on my contact? I'll think about it. Consider professional help if you're struggling to cope. I think I might got it from here. I just had to figure out where I was at and what God was trying to tell me with all this stuff that was going on, and me not understanding. I think I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. I already had forgave him for a lot of things, but now I gotta forgive him for just leaving, for dying on me, and not. I wasn't even part of the process, and I would have been there with him. I sure would have. I would look like a little dummy going down there to sit with him, because y'all already know when narcissists put a hold on you, it's hard not only for them to let go, but it's hard for you to let go too. It's harder for them to let go, but if they ever do let you go, it's because you no longer mean anything to them at all. I mean, you already, just the bottom of the line, really. But if a narcissist actually don't want nothing to do with you, then you just lost that narcissist. They won't deal with you. But he always wanted to come back up here. But he also wanted to see his other people too on the side, and that was not happening. Look, I like my man for myself. and I wasn't getting that, so okay, we're gonna go on. When it comes to frozen room, okay? When it comes to the frozen room, you might consider the following. Take small steps. Start by small steps such as cleaning or organizing a small area of the room. Okay, I can start with that sink. That sink, we was always at that sink together. I ain't gonna lie, he had romantic parts. I'm gonna tell you, this how it was. He was romantic until we would get around certain people. And then once we get around certain people, that's when it would just, or if he knew he was going to be around certain people, that's when it would just go all to crap. He knew what he was doing. He playing that. I am not giving him no credit for all that. He playing that. Okay. So I can start with that sink. Good memory flashing. It would be times when I would be at that sink and I'd be just come out the shower. He liked to see that, boy. He sit there and watch me the whole time. But I'd be just come out the shower and I'll sit there and he would sit there and watch me put on my makeup, watch me do my hair. And then when I get about finished, he'd come over near me and he say, I'm going to go ahead and brush my hair and stuff. And he start brushing his hair, putting on his aftershave and his deodorant and things. That was when he could put it on by himself. But it got where when he would come up after he started getting sick, I would have to put it on for him. And I would have to fasten his pants, unfasten his pants for him to use the bathroom, zip his pants. It was, look, he got bad. He was bad up here, but I heard he was worse for the last 8 years. So 2 years after leaving from up here, he declined a lot. And I think kind of when he was up here, he knew it was a safe zone because he knew I wouldn't let him do drugs here. So up here, he knew he could get the rest he needed. Because I ain't, once I quit doing things, I ain't even let things come to my house. Okay, so let me see. Preserve meaningful, set aside items that hold sentimental value or meaningful memories and consider finding a place for them. Create a memory box. I did not see anything back there that was really of value. I really didn't. I just saw that we just left the things the way it was. Create a memory box. I didn't mean we. I left the things the way it was. Create a memory box or a special container to store items that remind you of the person. I don't know if I want those kind of reminders. If I had to be reminded of him, I just rather for it to be random rather than to set something up and then every time I go look at it, I have a flashback or something. Because we talking about toxic relationship. That's what I came out of. That's what he came out of. He was an aggressor and I was too. I would sit there, he didn't never hit me but one time. And that one time he hit me, it caused a space between my spine and my neck. And that's part of the reason, too, why I didn't go back with him. Because I was like, dang, he hit hard. That hand was folded up, but when he chucked across the back of my neck, I never felt nothing like that before. That was the first time he hit me back. Out of all the times I done fussed and we done fought, that's the only time he hit me back. Now, he might throw a can or a beer bottle or something at me, but he wouldn't aim to hit me. But that was the first time he hit me, and that was it. I didn't want him back after that. Let's see. So there is no memory box I want. Seek support. Have trusted friend or family member help. Y'all are my support. And I'm going to leave it at that. Everyone's grief journey is unique and there's no set time for healing. Be patient and kind to yourself as you navigate this process. And that was all I learned on it. But I did know that it really hit me when I saw that I froze time and I froze space for him. I did it all for him. I did it all. And you know what? When we broke up, it hurt so bad. I stopped listening to R&B. I stopped listening to rap. I mean, that's how bad it hurt. And I started listening to gospel music. I just stayed on gospel music. I wanted to play it mentally safe, so I stayed on gospel music because I didn't want no triggers. I listen to R&B now. Because my granddaughter, Destiny, when she get in the car, she don't like Cyrus. And I don't think she like the Cyrus channels. Because she goes straight to 102 Jams. And I be like, okay, we'll listen. And when she put that 102 in, I'm like, dang, this is what I've been missing. Y'all know when they do that lineup, that 12 o'clock mix and all that. I said, yeah, this was that good music back in the day. And so now I'm starting to gradually listen to the radio again. I had stopped listening to it because I didn't want to hear them songs coming on that he would always sing. Or songs that he would like. He would pump that radio up and, just ride around playing loud music and drinking a beer. You know, before I get off of here, we did forgive each other. But forgiveness is not the same thing as grieving. Forgiveness is not the same thing as dealing with the breakup. For what it's worth, I skipped those processes because I didn't want to come to terms that I had failed another relationship too. And I think that was kind of selfish right there of me. That's why I stayed long as I did. I didn't want to look like a failure to my parents, to my children. And I didn't want to feel it for myself, but the whole time, I did fail. Oh, something hit me in my neck and it's hurting. I feel it too. So the whole time, I was a failure because we both failed. Maybe I should say that we fail on days that we fail. But on days that we were well, we were well. We would have Sundays here that were just so pretty. I don't want to make it seem like he was the only bad one, because I was too, and we both were. After a while of him cheating, I started cheating too. I mean, a cheat is a cheat. So never mind. Yeah, that's what happened. I didn't really stop being around him until 2013. And I met the other guy. And that was October 2013. I met the other guy. And that's when, the other guy helped me to get through. Or at least to get by for the next 10 years. Till now. When he started tripping, that's when I had to sit back and try to figure out what's going on with me now. And it's been a life of heartbreak for me, heartache, since I was a child. I've had a lot of heartbreak and heartaches. I've lost people I loved. I often say that I didn't experience true love until I got with the situationship guy. But the truth is, I think that I was experiencing love when I look back at it now, because everything I did, it had to be out of love, because who would just sit around and let somebody dog them out like that unless they did have some form of love for them. And I just packed it down and told myself I didn't love him so I could get through. Now that's enough for tonight. And I'm going to finish. I got one video I need to do, and then I'm going to go and try to get some rest. And I do want to try to get down there and see his family. I feel like I can go in there now. Before I could, I might have to talk about that another day, but before I couldn't go down there because I didn't want him to think that I wanted to bring him back here. See, even though I was hurt and even though I wanted him back, I didn't want him back up here because I knew we were going to go through the same things, and he was still, doing, as long as he was still doing the same things he was doing when he left from here, he was going to be the same. So I just stayed away. I don't regret staying away. It was best for me and for him. because he was already sick and suffering. And, you know, why would you want a woman sitting right there fussing with you 24/7 when stress makes that condition worse? And I know that's what I would have been doing. Okay, y'all. So peace, love, and happiness. Thanks for listening. Y'all continue to keep me in your prayers, though, because I don't know how this journey going to be. I don't know how it's going to take me. I don't know what's in store for me. But I do know that God is in it, because it's like I said at the beginning, it was just too many things he was showing me and telling me. And then, you know, I had a little, you know, help learning some things. And I'm thankful for that. All right, I'm out.